All right, everyone. Today I have Calie Calabrese on the podcast, and I am so excited she is here to share her story, to share her heart, to talk about all of her incredible knowledge related to women's health, hormone health, environmental toxins, and so much more. So, Calie, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, of course. Let's just dive right in. I would love for you to start with kind of sharing a little bit more about yourself and a little bit more about your personal wellness journey.
Yeah, sure. So I've been a holistic health coach for about 16 years. And like I feel most health coaches, my journey to this occupation started out of personal necessity. And so, I can trace it all the way back 16 years. In my 20s, I started to have weird health symptoms. By the time I was in my early 30s, I was on thyroid medication. They were monitoring my blood for deciding when to put me on lupus medication. I had doctors telling me I might be in a wheelchair by 45. And I was having chronic panic attacks every single day, panic attacks that sent me to the hospital. And I thought I was a pretty healthy person.
Yeah.
So this was all kind of like, I just thought I got the short end of the stick in the genetics pool, to be
Yeah.
honest. That was my thinking at the time. And fast forward to like a lot of doctor's appointments and a lot of research and figuring things out and walking into a chiropractor's office one day. And instead of getting an adjustment, I got a life-changing opportunity where someone actually sat and listened to what was going on in my life. And she said, I'm going to teach you how to eat and it's going to change your life. And that was the start of my journey. And for 16 weeks, she taught me what it meant to eat whole foods. I did like a full elimination diet. I basically healed my gut before people were talking about gut health.
Wow.
And I rebuilt my gut microbiome. I eliminated 11 food sensitivities. I completely stopped having panic attacks, lowered all my inflammation markers. By the end of that 16 weeks, I was off all my allergy medication. The doctors that were monitoring my blood for lupus were like, your markers are so great. Unless you start having pain again, we don't need you to come back in. And 16 years later, I've never had to go back in.
Wow.
So at the end of that, I was like, if food can be this powerful, I got to understand like how, why, how come no one's talking about this?
Right.
I just wanted to like shout it from the rooftops. And that's when I started to shift my career from public relations to I went back to school. I studied holistic health coaching. And that's really where the journey began. It transformed my health. It transformed the health of my kids. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that one meeting 16 years ago.
Oh my goodness. Wow. What a story. You've been through so much in your own personal wellness. And I love how now you're turning that into coaching and the ways that you're supporting other people. So I'd love for you to share a little bit more about what you're doing in the coaching and the health and wellness space and just how you support people on their health and wellness journey.
Yeah, so for me, my business always has followed my life. And I feel like that's where I can be the most impactful because I can understand where the person on the other side is. And I've been where they're at. And so at 47, you know, around 40, I probably started having some symptoms that are indicative of perimenopause and the perimenopause journey.
Right.
And so from about 40 to 43, I spent a lot of time really digging into women's hormone health. And as you might know, there's not a lot of adequate or accurate information about out there to help women going through this phase of life. And what I found is that even going to the doctor, even going to the OBGYN, I would go to one OBGYN and she'd be like, no, you have zero signs of perimenopause. You're not in perimenopause. And I go to another one and be like, yeah, I think you're probably in the early stages of perimenopause. And then 6 months later, she's like, no, I don't think you're in perimenopause. And I'm like, waiting for this diagnosis to
Right.
tell me how to treat my health. And as a health coach with 16 years of experience, I felt very lost in this time. And I feel like I lost a lot of years where I could have been taking positive action to improve my symptoms and help my body give it the support it needed through this estrogen and progesterone decline, which is a natural part of the female cycle of life.
Right.
Because I was waiting for a diagnosis to tell me that it was time to do that. And so in going back and getting additional hormone health certifications, in reading thousands of pages of books and research,
Yeah.
I've figured out a lot of stuff that, like, perimenopause is not a diagnosis. It's a phase of life. Like, we don't diagnose puberty.
Right.
It's a
Totally.
phase of life that you're going to go through if you live to be, 13, 15, 16, just like perimenopause. And so my focus in my practice has shifted to helping women over 35, because that's when those hormones naturally start that slow descent. And that's when we should start saying, what signs is my body giving me? What clues is it offering to tell me the type of support it's going to need to thrive through this phase of life instead of just surviving it? And so
Right.
that's what I want to help women, to figure out and to understand that we have a lot of power. This is actually a critical window of opportunity. How we assess our body's needs during this time, how we adjust our lifestyle, our nutrition, maybe some supplementation,
Right.
is going to set us up for the type of health and life that we get to experience in the next 3 to 4 decades. And we live, like, the postmenopausal years are 3 to 4 decades of our life. That's a significant portion.
Yeah.
I want to be set up to feel freaking amazing during that time of my life, and not
Right.
to just be getting by.
Right, right. So you are literally speaking to my soul, because that's really truly been what I have experienced 35 plus, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
just this uncovering and this slow unraveling of trying to really understand what's happening with my body and what do
Yeah.
I really need to do in order to feel supported and get to this place of thriving in this season. So I would love for you to share a little bit, Calie, about, when you have a client or you're talking to women about this shift and this life
Mm-hmm.
transition, like, where are the pieces that you're coaching on related to maybe lifestyle or environmental toxins, or what are the things that you think most women need to be paying attention to in this season?
Yeah, there's really 5 key areas. And one of the first things that I have to help a lot of women overcome is the belief that they need a diagnosis, like we talked about,
Yeah.
and the feeling that they need to go and get their hormones tested
Yeah.
in order to take positive action.
Right.
And while testing can be great, and if your insurance covers it or you can afford it and you want to do it, that's great. But you don't need a $600 Dutch test to tell you exactly where your hormones are at in order for you to support your body. Your
Right.
symptoms are going to be the best indicators. And that's what all the research tells us. So we can look at symptoms, and those symptoms will help us decide, where do we want to focus our energy first.
Okay.
So first things first is, I always help them do some kind of intake, a symptom tracker, looking at, because a lot of women don't understand that hormone symptoms go so far beyond symptoms of our period.
Yeah.
So if it's like a reproductive symptom, a period symptom, we're like, oh, it's my hormones. But what about acne? What about hair loss? What about dry skin? What about insomnia, anxiety, depression, itchy ears?
Yeah.
Super common perimenopause symptom.
So
Who
wild.
knew, right? So there's like joint pain, increase in migraines, increase in headaches, brain fog, like lack of mental clarity. Those are all symptoms of hormonal imbalances. And the next thing I like to help women understand is that there's a hormone hierarchy. So when we look at our lifestyle shifts, it really helps the women to understand why these 5 areas, when they understand that when I say hormones, I mean so much more than our reproductive hormones. So it's not just estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, which are the ones that we automatically think of. Our hormones are the chemical messengers in our body. They are like calling the shots.
Yeah.
Women have them, men have them, children have them. Our hormones are determining our mood, our mental clarity, our metabolism, our sleep. Melatonin is a hormone, insulin is a hormone, oxytocin, hormone, adrenaline, cortisol, hormones. So these are
Right.
all hormones. So there's a hierarchy. Some people explain like the 4-legged stool. If one leg is off, everything's off. I like to use the hierarchy as an example
Yeah.
because we have to we have to sort of reverse engineer. Where did things go off for us? So
Right.
at the top of the hierarchy, we have oxytocin. That's like our happiness hormone.
Yeah.
It starts there. If we're not doing things every day in our life that are giving us a little bit of an oxytocin boost, well, oxytocin is what helps to keep cortisol regulated.
Yeah.
So one of the best ways to regulate our cortisol is not to try to eliminate every stress factor in our life, but it's to get more oxytocin into our day.
I love
So
that.
that's, one step number one.
Yeah.
And then number two, we have cortisol. That's our stress hormone. So many people think, well, my life is just stressful right now. Like I have this with the kids and I have this with my job. I have this in my marriage. I have this with my finances. These things aren't things that I can just snap my fingers and fix. And that's true. And if we were at the mercy of eliminating stress from our lives to regulate our cortisol, we'd all be in a little bit of trouble, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's actually a lot we can do to support our nervous system, to retrain our bodies to move in and out of fight or flight mode. Because what happens is that these busy schedules, these life stressors, our bodies get stuck
Yeah.
in that state of high stress. And then like it's a cortisol bomb. If we can implement simple things like 1 minute of deep breath work. I like to habit stack it onto mealtime because then
Right.
I support digestion and nutrient absorption while also regulating my nervous system. So I'm habit stacking. So 1 minute of deep belly breathing before each meal, that's 3 minutes of your day. That's going to help tell your body, hey, I can relax. I'm in a
Right.
calm, safe space. So
Right.
retraining the body to move in and out of fight or flight. So oxytocin, cortisol. Cortisol plays a huge role in regulating our insulin. Over 35, as we start to lose muscle mass, as our estrogen starts to decline, we naturally become more insulin sensitive. When
Yep.
you add to that the cortisol dysregulation, because our nervous systems as women are all out of whack from our busy, crazy lifestyles, also from our super intense workouts
Yep.
or under eating,
Right.
because we've been told wrong by the science of what it takes to lose weight as a woman,
Yep.
that's whacked our cortisol as well. Well, now our insulin's even more dysregulated. So
Right.
we're all very sensitive. So it's like, get the oxytocin right, work on the cortisol with simple steps, and then blood sugar balance. So I like to teach my clients fiber first,
Yep.
because it's like, if you think of like when you eat, so say when you wake up in the morning, you've basically been fasting while you're sleeping, whether it's 8 hours or 12 hours, you've been
Right.
fasting for some amount of time. So whatever the first thing is that you put in, it's rushing through, it's going straight into your bloodstream. If
Right.
it's something high in carbs, high in sugar, and there's nothing to slow it down, you're going to get a huge blood sugar spike. What comes after the spike is a crash.
Yeah.
That's going to trigger fatigue. It's going to trigger cravings, and it's going to make your body store fat. If you put fiber in first, it's like stretching a mesh netting over that.
Okay.
So whatever comes in after has to drip through more slowly. And
Okay.
so you get more of a steady stream of that glucose, which is our energy source,
Right.
and you stabilize your blood sugar. So it's fiber first, protein second. Protein also really helps with slowing down that drip
Right.
and helps with satiety and all of that. And then have your carbs and your sugars, whether that's fruit or a treat, whatever. But
Right.
eating just those simple swap, savory breakfast or starting with fiber first, can have a huge impact. Um,
I
so we
love
look at stress management, we look at, blood sugar regulation, we look at improving their gut health. The gut and the liver really kind of pair together. So this is where the endocrine disrupting chemicals come in.
Right.
And the big thing here is the first phase of perimenopause. What we see is actually a huge increase in estrogen. Most women become estrogen dominant. It's in later in perimenopause when we become estrogen deficient. So estrogen therapy in early perimenopause is only really going to make things worse.
Right.
So what do we need to focus on in early perimenopause? Well, number one, estrogen is allowed to be dominant because we're starting to have anovulatory cycles. So our progesterone is decreasing because every time we don't ovulate, that egg follicle doesn't become the corpus luteum. which is what releases progesterone. So you might have a period, but you didn't get a progesterone boost that month. So that allows estrogen. It's the relationship between the two. Now, factor into that we're taking in up to 180 chemicals a day just from our beauty routines, our environment, our food, our clothing, whatever it is. We're taking in these endocrine disrupting chemicals. What does that mean? Well, these chemicals, these endocrine disruptors, they mimic estrogen in our body. So that means our cell receptors will grab these false estrogens. And now that locking keyhole, it's blocked from our natural estrogen. So we're not getting the proper signaling going. So what we want to do is we want to find ways to reduce our estrogen levels and reduce those endocrine disrupting chemicals. So when we nurture our gut microbiome, the estrobolome is like this subset in our microbiome, in our gut, that's specifically responsible for hormone signaling and estrogen metabolism. So if the gut's not working, if that estrobolome's not optimized, if we're not pooping regularly, this is one of the biggest ways that our body flushes out endocrine disrupting chemicals, so false estrogens, but also our natural excess estrogen in this phase of life. So we want to make sure we're hydrated, got adequate magnesium, we're taking in plants at every meal. So some simple things that I teach. That's why I love Hydrate Detox from Hugh and Grace.
So good.
It's got the magnesium citrate and the
Yeah.
potassium, which are going to help you have regular bowel movements. It's got the DE111, which is that probiotic that it can make it all the way through to our gut where we need it. It starts to replicate itself within just a few hours. And so it helps to nurture that microbiome. And then it's got what I consider the hero product, glutathione, our master antioxidant. It works with the bile from our liver to bind up those environmental toxins. So we're pooping regularly, we're flushing out excess estrogen because we've got a healthy estrobolome, and we're flushing out those EDCs, those endocrine disrupting chemicals. So we need a healthy liver and a healthy gut, and we got to be pooping every day. It's just, that's part of the equation.
Necessity.
It's a necessity. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Calie, so much great information. I mean, I'm just mind blown by just the hierarchy overall and how it all intertwines and how important it is to really understand that this is so much more than just our sex hormones.
Yeah.
So I just really appreciate your perspective and kind of walking through those different pieces to the puzzle and why each thing is so important. I'd love to kind of go ahead.
I was gonna say, I like to summarize it, because that's a lot of science, and I feel like some people might listen and go, okay, but what do you want me to do?
Right.
What am I supposed to do? Okay, so oxytocin, hugs, physical touch, find ways to laugh every day. Also nature. So pick one. Which one are you gonna focus on? Are you gonna line the family up and hug them every single morning, get that oxytocin boost and hug them before bed? And you're like, this is gonna help me be a nicer person. Get in here and give me these hugs.
Yes.
So step one, get your oxytocin boost. Pick one of those ways. Step two, we got to regulate the cortisol. I like to add that 1 minute of deep belly breathing before each meal. It's just a simple way to habit stack it. Step three, we got to work on the insulin, but we want to also work on the gut health, right? So I like to habit stack again, fiber first at every meal. So if you just put a diversity of plants on your plate at each meal, just a different vegetable, breakfast, lunch, dinner, try and change them up each week, try and change them up seasonally, increase that diversity. But it's just put plants on your plate at every meal and eat those plants first before the rest of the meal. Like that, now we've hit the insulin, we've hit the gut health. And then I would say drink the hydrate and detox, because we got to work on detoxing those endocrine disrupting chemicals and just start paying attention to the products you're putting on your body. Run them through the Yuka app. As the stuff you have that doesn't score well runs out, swap it with something that's a little better.
Yeah.
And, again, that's why I love Hugh and Grace, because they make that process really easy and get it all in one place, totally transparent about their ingredients, which is key because not all companies have full transparency.
Yeah, it is key. And I would love for you to talk a little bit more about Hugh and Grace. So Calie and I, just for all of the listeners, so I've connected with Calie through Hugh and Grace. I've always seen her from afar through other pieces of the wellness puzzle and the wellness industry, but we now both are partnered with an amazing company called Hugh and Grace. And Calie, I'd love for you to share a little bit about, why you're partnering with them and why you're so passionate about them as a company.
Yeah. So when I was first introduced to Hugh and Grace, I was kind of like, eh, they're in the network marketing space, and I'm kind of like doing my own thing right now. And I don't know that I want to like partner with another company. And then my friend was like, okay, well, just look at the website. Like, tell me what you think about these products. And I looked at the website and I was like, crap. I'm gonna have to partner with this company, aren't
I'm gonna
I?
have to check
It
it
was
out.
like if I could have created a company that I would want to work with, it would have been Hugh and Grace. Like
Yeah,
everything, it like ticked every box. And I was like,
right.
wow. So I got some products, and the product that really grabbed my attention, which I keep talking about, is Hydrate Detox. Like I love a lot of the products, but you'll hear me talk about this because this is the product where I was like, this is so intelligently designed. The Hydrate Detox and the morning routine in general, which also includes the collagen, but not just beauty collagen, like actual wellness collagen, and the AM supplement, which helps with energy, blood sugar regulation, and liver function, like all the things we just talked about.
Right.
It literally was like, here's a neat little package, wrap it up in a bow, hormone health. And I was like, yes, everything that I was basically taking that I was ordering from all these different websites, all these different companies was costing me a lot of money. And it was like 7 to 8 steps every single day,
Yeah.
was wrapped up in a neat little bow in this 1 minute, 3 step routine. And I was like, this could be a game changer for my clients and for me.
Right.
So that was how it started for me. And then I tried the skincare line, and I'm not someone who's spent a lot of time researching skincare in the past, but I did order a lot of really expensive skincare products, trying to find like better quality and also trying to see results. And I remember at like 43, I felt like my skin started to age really rapidly. It got like thin and wrinkled and dull and dry. And I was like, what the heck?
I know.
And I was like trying all the creams, all the serums. I was getting hydrofacials, and it was like, nothing was really changing how it looked, but I kept thinking, well, maybe it's just going to prevent it from getting any worse. So, but I was spending all this money and I was not like seeing a change, but I was just crossing my fingers, well, it's not going to get any worse. And then I started using Hugh and Grace's cleansing bar because we didn't even have the 5-in-1 skincare cleanser at the time. I started using the cleansing bar and the day and night serum, and my skin actually started to transform. Like the health of my skin came back. And I do think Hydrate Detox plays a role because of the adequate hydration and the detoxification benefits. But I couldn't believe the comments I started getting on my skin. And I'd been using a cleaning product from an essential oil company for probably 15 years, and I'd never strayed really from
Wow.
them. And then I ordered the cleaning products to give those a try, and I ran all the ingredients through the EWG website, and it scored significantly higher than what I'd been using. It was only like 6 or 7 ingredients. They were all recognizable. And lo and behold, it like took away the hard water stains, the pink mold that we have here in Texas, like just wiped it away in my shower. And I was like, we have transparency in ingredients. Everything actually works.
Right.
Minimal ingredients, no like fillers, nothing extra is in there, zero endocrine disrupting chemicals, hormone safe. You can use the same products for the whole family. So I don't have to buy like one thing for my teenage son and one thing for my fiance and something different for myself. Like we just all use these products.
Yeah.
So to me, it was like, it makes it really simple. I felt like the prices were so good, especially for how effective and how clean these products were. Um, and I love that we also focus on education as a company. We really don't just say, here's a product to fix whatever is ailing you, but we educate people on why and what are like other things you can do. Like, what are the lifestyle shifts that complement using our products? That was really important to me to have that aspect, incorporated with our company.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much because that's really one of the things that drew me into is the educational component. Like, not only are we giving you the tools on how to make really simple swaps, but we're also educating you about why these ingredients can be so powerful and how you can use them for your family and why, eliminating environmental toxins matters. And, you are one of the people that I've learned so much from. So I really can't thank you enough for sharing your expertise, for coming on the podcast today, and just for diving in on what you're passionate about for women's health and family health. It's just so incredibly powerful, Calie. Before we kind of wrap
Thank
it up
you.
here, I'd love for you to quickly share for the woman that's listening to this who maybe feels a little bit overwhelmed on how to get started with making clean swaps, working on her hormone health, understanding maybe some of the shifts she's experiencing in perimenopause, what would be the one piece of advice you would give her?
Yeah, don't overcomplicate it. So I think it's really important to understand the power of simple steps repeated consistently. So if you feel overwhelmed, pick one thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you're just gonna try the hydrate detox and start to feel your energy improve and your hydration improve and your bowel movements improve and see how all of that helps your sleep. And then when you have more energy, you're like, okay, now I'm going to add a 10-minute walk every morning. So you kind of pick one place to start. Maybe when you were listening to me talk about the hormone hierarchy, you were like, I know how stressed I am throughout the day. Sometimes I notice that I'm holding my breath, or my shoulders are up to my ears, or I always have that underlying buzz of adrenaline.
Right.
Okay, then maybe you just start with a 1 minute of deep breathing before your meals every single day. Do that for 30 days and see how you feel. And
Yeah.
then add another. And then, you slowly habit stack. You didn't get to where you are overnight, and you're not going to completely reverse it overnight. So allow it to be a journey and try to enjoy the process.
I love that, Calie. Thank you so, so much. Before we kind of wrap up, would you quickly share how people can connect with you or find you online or on a website or something like that?
Sure. If you enjoyed this information, I actually have a free mini course on lifestyle shifts for perimenopause success on my website, which is coachcalie.com. It goes into more detail on those 5 lifestyle hacks that we touched on. And you can follow me on Instagram at Coach Calie. I share lots more about my lifestyle and all things related to hormone health.
Okay, awesome. Calie, thanks again for your time. So incredibly grateful for you. Guys, we'll see you in the next one. Take care.